Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Titans. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we're picking up with Rachel and Gar as they're trying to track down Dick. Rachel can tell that he's dying, but by the time they do get to him, it's already too late. Even with her powers, she can't do anything. I mean, to be fair, she was working so hard to bring Donna back, but that wasn't possible. So obviously she can't do anything for Dick in this situation. But being so frustrated, Gar's powers manifest and he transforms into a bat. Because he had brought up before previously about how the bats seemed like they were following him. And now I think this adds context to, on some level, he's been like, the bats were sensing, as Rachel kind of puts it later on, like his love for Dick Grayson. And it's like, it knew, like in that moment, just like your pain and everything is like what triggered your powers. But I think the entire time, like the bats were kind of pointing him where he needed to be, because he was kind of giving off some like animalistic, like instinct or something that the bats were kind of vibing with. He was on kind of that same wavelength because of his abilities. I think he can interact with animals on some subconscious level that he wasn't really aware of, like on some just animal instinct level. And in this moment, he turns into a bat, and they all lift Dick's body up and takes him back to the. I think Gar was kind of leading the charge of taking Dick back to the Lazarus pit, and they drop him in, but it's from here on out, like Rachel's like, we can't do anything for him. Like, it has to be Dick's battle going forward. Like, he has to be the one that keeps fighting. And Gar's like, he will. But for Gar, it's this situation where it's like this power of his, he feels like he can do more. He could be more. But it's just like in instances of like when he's like really afraid is when his power is open. Like the door like opens wide open and he can do what he can do. But eventually afterwards, it immediately shuts. And so Rachel talks about, you know, she was afraid that her father was like too much part of who she was. And Gar's like, you weren't. She's like, but yeah, I know. Because she thought her hatred was like what kept her power like flourishing. Because I mean, that what worked for her dad. But it's like, no, I'm not my dad. My power, I gain access to all that I can because of love. My love for Gar, for Dick, for Corey, it's all because of that made me access what I can. And so she does the same thing for Gar to remind him. It's like, you were able to do what you were able to do because like they sensed your pain and your love for Dick Grayson. So it's like, let that kind of be your thing. Like going forward, like it's there. Like you can tap into it without having to worry about tapping into your fear. But at the same time, Dick is going on kind of a journey of self-discovery, confronting a lot of, you know, on the cusp, you know, and even Crane being there to be like, oh yeah, your battle for your soul is already over. You've lost. Because it's like you're so focused on like when your parents die, like basically he's saying like the ground beneath you becomes shaky, and essentially Bruce became that foundation to replace the ground that was beneath them, or at least in some, I guess you can almost make this sense of like Bruce almost like glued it back together. Like he didn't fully repair it. He just kind of glued to kind of hold it together, but that's not perfect. Like a parallel can make it's like when Barry created Flashpoint and he tried to undo it and then tried to undo it again. Like it took Jade telling him like, right, you can try to put it together, but it won't fit back perfectly. That's kind of what Bruce did for Dick. It's like, right, you were afraid, you had fear, and Bruce taught you a way to live with that fear, and you took that fear and you took that and you used that rage and you like hit people with that rage. And that's been something like, yeah, he's been working on himself the entire time, but it's still been an underlying issue, going from, you know, quitting Robin, going to back to being Robin, to burning the suit and trying to become something else with Nightwing. It didn't solve the underlying issue that basically the entire time was like, Bruce Wayne is not your father. You kind of got so wrapped up in thinking of Bruce as your father, you forgot about your actual father. It's like, oh, he'd be so disappointed in you, because Dick has been striving ever since he was a kid, ever since Bruce took him under his wing. He's been trying to do things the way Bruce has. He's been like, once again, everyone telling him that, oh, be the next Batman and it's like, no, like I can't be Bruce, because being Bruce has led me to become who I am. And just like this swelling fear and anger in me, like it's because Bruce like forged me into this. And it's like, I've been spending so much time trying to be someone else that I'm not, you know? And obviously Crane, well, this, because it's not really Crane, but it's like a manifestation of his own doubts of it and his own insecurities of being like, oh, like, you hated Jason. Like, he came here, like, he replaced you as Robin, but on top of that, he took your father's attention from you. He's like, no, the greatest detective should only have one son, and that's you. You came first, and it's like, because Bruce became kind of his world and his everything, his view on the world, like, because Bruce is all he had, and it's like, to have Jason come around and kind of take that. It's like, oh, you resented him. You wanted him dead. He's like, no, I didn't kill Jason. The Joker did. It's like, the Joker was the weapon, but you pretty much did because you abandoned him. You weren't there for him. It's already too late. And then like he's dressed like the Joker and he proceeds to bash Jason's head in. But it took him stopping, being like, this is not what I want, And he ends up seeing his dad, and it's like, I'm sorry, Dad. I spent so long trying to be someone else. He's like, I know, son. Like, but it's like, regardless of everything, it's like, I love you. And Dick now, for the first time, I think, in a long time, has kind of got his eyes open to be himself, not trying to be Bruce, not trying to be Batman, just being himself. Because even when he was Robin, all he was doing was trying to be Bruce. And even with Nightwing, he was like, oh, I'm not Robin anymore, but he's still tilted in that lane of still trying to be Bruce. And it's like, for the first time, I think he's fully forged and trying to find his own way of like, I'm not going to be Bruce Wayne. I'm going to be Dick Grayson. I'm going to be Nightwing. I'm going to fully embrace being me and stop trying to follow in Bruce's shadow. Just be myself and not try to be anyone else. And in that moment, he realizes, like, no, like, there's still hope. I can reach Jason. It's not too late. But Crane's like, no, it is. He already belongs to me. But Dick, like, snaps out of it and rises from the pit. And I think it speaks volumes that it's like, right, he went in with his Nightwing costume, but then like he comes up and he's not wearing it. So I think it speaks volumes that it's like, right in this moment, it's like, for now, like, you got to go forward as Dick Grayson. You got to embrace who you are as Dick Grayson before you even worry about like going back to being Nightwing. And so he tells Gar and Rachel, it's like, right, he knows it because he saw the signs, like he tapped into, I think, being on the other side, he got a lot of answers. It's just like, right, you guys go fight Donna. And they're like, wait, Donna? And he's like, yeah, also go save Connor. Like, yeah, he made some mistakes, but it's not too late to correct them. And he goes off too. And obviously we had the confrontation between Scarecrow, Jonathan and Jason, because Jason's like, yeah, we were going to cause a little havoc, but I'm supposed to be this city's savior. But Jonathan's about, no, it's not about saving the city anymore. It's like, we're going to burn this bitch to the ground, And so, like, for him, it's like, yeah, that's going to be we're going to kill everyone, because I think the mask has finally come off of who he is. It's just like his own insecurities, and he's just kind of finally going off the deep end. Like, I think a lot of his insecurities finally like made him break of just like be like, no, this is how I'm showing I'm strong. I am strong. I don't need the mask anymore. It is interesting that he's using that weapon. I'm like, is that the typical Scarecrow weapon? Well, because like sometimes you'll see him, he'll have like a Reaper, like he'll have a scythe as a weapon. But I forgot what that, because I was about to, like, I don't know what that weapon would necessarily be called. Like, I just think of like Joey Wheeler from Kunai Whip Chain. But it's like Kohaku. Sango's brother and Inuyasha had that weapon. I don't know like this specific name for it. Like, this might be a different variation of it. Like, maybe this is a more medieval version. That was like a more feudal Japan version of the weapon, but it might be of the same ilk. Well, because I know like in Injustice 2, he has that weapon. So it is, like I said, maybe like that's a more modern Scarecrow has that weapon, typical maybe, or different like I guess it, because I've never really known Scarecrow to have an actual weapon. I just know his main weapon has always been his fear gas. Just like, Joker's using whatever weapons at his disposal, whether it's the clattering teeth, whether it's his laughing gas, whether it's a crowbar, he never, like, because I think, like, when you think Harley, you think of, like, the sledgehammer or the baseball bat. Like, those are, like, signature weapons associated with her. But, I mean, truth be told, it's like, Harley being Harley is just her own weapon. I mean, we've definitely seen that showcased in them, Birds of Prey and even, like, the Suicide Squad. But tangents and all that aside, I just thought that was interesting. But obviously for Jason, it's like, I won't have any part, because because in his, it's like, Gotham has its issues, and that's why I want to save it. We'll kind of throw a little chaos so we can come in and save it. Find a different way, because the way Bruce and Dick were going about saving Gotham, like, that's not enough. Like, we're going to find a new way. But it's like, no, that new way, it's out the trash. Let's burn Gotham down. Like, I don't know if it's even a thing of like, oh, from the ashes, at least before it seemed like maybe from the ashes, a new Gotham will rise. Doesn't even seem like Jonathan's even interested. It's like, no, I'm going to basically drown this place in fear and burn it to the ground. And inadvertently by channeling all, like, I mean, it's already running wild with everyone drinking the water, but it's like, I think, well, not everyone, but I think now with the fear toxin, people will just like lose their mind, become so consumed with fear that they'll burn it to the ground themselves. So, Jason walks away, but then crosses path with Dick, who's like, we can still stop this. It's like, it's not too late for you. You can try to do the right thing. I know you want to. You want redemption, right? Because for him, it's like, I'm a murderer. And it's like, you want redemption, right? This is your opportunity, you know? And he's handing him his Red Hood. And he's like, so what? Am I supposed to just, what am I going to be? What, am I a Titan again? He was like, no, you'll never be a Titan again. But you can at least help me save Gotham. You know, that'll be the first step to his redemption. Because it turns out that this is all, you know, Crane picking up with his plan from years ago when Bruce and Dick stopped him from basically drowning the entire city in his fear toxins. And by the time they catch up to him in the end of the episode, it's like he's already gotten it, which I did appreciate. Like, you know, obviously some winks and nods to, like, we see we see a whole bunch of umbrellas. I'm assuming those are penguins. We see the teeth, obviously Jokers, and then we see Riddler's staff. So, but all his like vials of like his fear toxin are gone because he's locked and loaded and ready to put his plan in action. Left behind his book of poetry, the one that he was quoting to Jason, that immediately the moment he heard it, like Dick recognized it from like years ago when him and Bruce stopped him. So other aspects, I mean, just continuing to show you just how crazy Jonathan is. Like, obviously he was gloating to Barbara, and I think Barbara specifically like turned away and also was making sure because she didn't want to get him the satisfaction of seeing like how much hearing about Dick being dead, how much it affected her. So she didn't want to give him the satisfaction. So, but he's gloating, and I love the whole thing of like, he cut off that guy. He's like, well, I lost my right hand. He's like, well, I found a man and I got his right hand. And he just like he's shaking it. Like, it just like, that was some real psychopathic shit right there. But gloating of like, oh yeah, like, you know, he was feeling a little bit lonely. So he did like, I guess like their daily check-ins. And this just happened to be one of them. It's like, dude's really going off the deep end to go that far. But, you know, he wasn't always that sane to begin with. But you feel like he's kind of gotten way more like insane, like crazy levels insane, even more so than before. So, but Barbara does break out later. She's trying to get Oracle back online, but it's like, well, I mean, maybe she'll be able to. Once again, I'm curious, like, could this be actually the stage floor for her to become Oracle now? Like, yes, the system was here, but now maybe because of all of this, she'll eventually adopt it to become Oracle. Like I said, because in this continuity, she's already done the Batgirl thing. Then they're done that with the whole Batgirl thing. So it just doesn't seem like maybe this is the birth of her becoming Oracle. Interesting timing and stuff like that, too, because, like, obviously in, like, the because obviously there is a Batgirl movie coming out. It is a movie, right? Yeah. Because the actress from In the Heights, which I haven't seen, I know she's... What is her name? Is it like Leslie Grace, I want to say? I could be butchering that. I might be. I feel like her name is Leslie. I could be. I can't remember, but I know that's happening. But also, like Harley Quinn-wise, like, Batgirl got introduced last season, so... Just the timing and stuff like that, if I'm fascinated. But obviously, it's like, you know, it's always that interesting thing of like, oh, where are we in the continuity? And like I said, this will be around the time she's Oracle, but this might be her origin story to becoming Oracle. Like, maybe she can't fully get the program back online, but then, like, or maybe even if she does, she fully, like, embraces that, and that becomes her code name going forward. I don't know. Like, it doesn't seem like she's at that point, or maybe she doesn't become Oracle in this continuity, simply that program itself stays that way. I'm curious to see how they handle that potentially going forward. But other than that, we had the whole Donna and Tim situation where obviously the police are kind of running rampant with the whole like taking down the resistance, and obviously like this is only cell left, so it's like, all right, so we have to get out of here. Obviously Tim doesn't want to run, but especially when Donna finds out that Nightwing is dead, it's like, I seen the photo, she's like, yeah, you can't believe whatever you want to, you can't believe that, because obviously Crane is going to manipulate the situation to feed whatever narrative he needs. So Donna doesn't want to believe that, and maybe on some level she does actually believe it at the end, but her main focus is making sure that Tim and his family get out alive, because she might not be able to save Gotham, but at very least, if she can save their lives, then I think it means there was something more to her. Like, there is worth to her coming back, essentially. But obviously, Tim wants to stay and fight. His family wants to run, because obviously for her, it's like, you didn't come back here just to die, because if you do this, you're going to go off on the suicide mission. Your family, look at your mom. She's worried sick about you. Your only son. So it's like, you need to keep them safe and also fucking live. Because for her, it's like, you had the outside perspective of wanting this superhero thing, but for him, it's like, I want to stay and fight. I didn't come back to like be a coward. I came back to fight. I came back to be the next Robin. And he's like, if Hank was here, Hank would tell me to go for it, like take a chance. Because she's like, well, Hank isn't here. He sacrificed himself so that you would live. And it's like, yeah, but this is, Hank wasn't always a cautious person. Like, he'd go full throttle with everything. So it's like, up to him, it's like, I've got to give this everything I've got. Like, this is what I'm destined to do. I'm destined to be the next Robin. But for Donna, she just doesn't see it, because he's asking, just give me this chance. Believe in me that I can do this. But she's just kind of like, because for her, it's like, I was born to be the warrior I am, and I've been training my entire life. Even I'm still not prepared for everything that's coming this way. And it's like, you're still a rank amateur in this. You believe, like, but like, you've seen, Dick died, Hank died, like, even she died. It's like, this isn't some like cakewalk of just like, you think you know what this all is all about. You think you knows what it takes to be a hero. You don't. A true hero would be just staying here and protecting your family. That's what you're meant to do. But he feels like he's meant for so much more. And I think that's kind of a parallel that others can feel as well. But ultimately, they get stopped by some cops, and they kind of have no choice but to go toe-to-toe with them, which at that point, Donna's like, well, guess your fight for destiny and being more is coming a lot sooner than I was hoping it would. But, so I thought at that point Rachel and Gar were going to meet up with them, because they did hear about a Titan en route. Maybe we'll see that next episode, but because they went looking for Connor. Obviously, they don't know the ins and outs, because it's not like Dick explained all that went down, but yeah. Everything being as it is, it definitely sets things up with the whole Connor thing, which we'll get to in a second, of like, yeah, kind of things went sideways with Jason, and it might just go sideways with Superboy, because luckily, Crypto came and got Blackfire. She was just about to leave, like, got in the guy's car, and I love him be like, yeah, just pay attention to the gas, man. Like, basically take care of my car. Like, even though she's like jacking you for your car, it's like, do you think you're going to get it back after this? But I guess it's like, rather be safe than sorry. Like, let you know what's what, and it kind of sticks, and it's like, just take care of my baby. Maybe when you're done, if you could just leave it somewhere and I'll get it. But she follows Crypto to where Connor is. Luckily, she got, well, not Starfire's power, but her power is back, so she's able to just burn the kryptonite out of him, which obviously there's a part of Connor just like, man, fuck Dick for doing that. That's such an asshole thing to do. We're supposed to be family. But then there's another side of him is like, we are family, so we're supposed to stick together no matter what. But Blackfire kind of convinces him, I'm like, nah, screw that, fuck the Titans. Like, it's like, you and me, we can be a team together. And he's like, oh, like Hulk and Dove. And she's like, what? He's like, never mind. But it's like, yeah, we could be like a superhero duo. I mean, it's like, well, not just you and me. Obviously, Crypto's here too, so we can kind of go off and do whatever we want to. But it turns out the person she's actually getting payback for, which I'm an idiot because it never crossed my mind. Oh yeah, the dude that was holding you like captive for a long time, And I love that he's like, hey, Superboy, it's an honor to meet you. It's like, oh, and it's like, yeah, you held my. It's not up to me what happens to you. It's my girlfriend. It's like, do you mind if I call you my girlfriend? She's like, you better. And then they start kissing, and he's like, oh man, I'm so Starfire, I'm so glad that you guys are a couple. He's like, I'm someone who loves love, someone's like, I love that. He's kind of like a Weasley dude trying to scramble his way out of any situation. And so Starfire's like, not Starfire, but Blackfire's like, yeah, why don't I just kill you? He's like, oh, because I have something for you, and hopefully this will be enough to keep me alive. Turns out, hey, here's your ship, so you can go home. Except while we were experimenting with, the core to your ship, we kind of destroyed it, so, yeah, you would need different circumstances to, fix it, which Connor could, but Connor's reluctant to fix it, because it's like, no, why go back to a planet that doesn't want you, that hates you? But after Starfire explains everything about now realizing, the visions and stuff, which, once again, where were those visions coming from? I don't know. But it's like, right, like not only was Starfire lied to, but I mean, but not was Blackfire lied to, but even Starfire, because she had no idea what was what. She's like, I'm sorry, but it's like, no, like the fault lies with our parents. They're the one that set this all in motion. It's like, well, I mean, I guess luckily for you, well, luckily for Blackfire, she's already killed them, so it can't kill them twice. So I guess there's nothing she can do about that. But now knowing, like, wait, like, so the throne, I always felt like it belonged to me, and now I know that it does. So essentially, Connor doesn't want her to go. It's like, you know, it's like, wait, like, so are you going to do what you, like, everyone else does? You make a promise to me and you immediately break it? It's like, but for her, it's like, I've spent my entire life believing I was more than what others told me I was. Because that was the whole thing, like, they're both outsiders to a certain extent, because despite everything that Connor is Superboy and everything, there is still that pesky Luther side of him. So it is a situation of like, right, like dictating who you are based on what other people believe. It's like, this is an opportunity for me to like set that straight. Like, I always felt like in my core, ever since I was a little girl, this is what I've always wanted, because I believed it to be mine, even though like others told me it wasn't. And now I know it to be true, that the throne was mine and always going to be mine. So for her, it's like, I need to go now, because if I don't leave, if I don't go home now, I never will. Because if she sticks around, like, Connor will be able to convince her to stay. Because it's like, if I don't, like, take this opportunity now while I'm feeling it, if I don't, like, I'm never going to want to go back. Like, I won't be able to summon up the courage, and it'll just be a thing of, like, just, you know what, it's not worth going home. So Connor is willing to help. And even Blackfire is not even sure, like, if they'll accept her back home. But Starfire is like, I'll go back with you. I'll vouch. She's like, you'll leave your family forever? She's like, you are my family. So, you know, we were all so wrong about you, so it has to be me. Like, if it needs to be, I'll be there to vouch for you. But for Blackfire, it's like, no, this is something I have to do on my own. So, but it turns out your boy Connor sabotaged it. I think that Luther side of things, kind of being that, like, willing to destroy just to get what you want, I think that side of him kind of took over in this moment, so he sabotaged that. So, not good for your relationship. So, I don't know whether you thought, like, now that she has nowhere to go, you know, that's a very Luther thing of just kind of, like, crush and destroy just to get what you want, you know? It's just, like, believing you're kind of, like, no, this is what I want. I don't know. Like, I don't know if he's going to be, like, oh, like, you're going to, like, because Starfire immediately figured it out at the end, and, like, looking at Connor, like, you're sabotaging this ship, so I don't know how that he thinks that's all going to work out going forward, but definitely put a little snafu. I wasn't expecting him to cross that line like that. I did skip over it, though. While he was in the afterlife, Dick did have a vision of a child, and I'm like, huh, is that supposed to be insinuating, like, sadly means, like, things between him and Barbara won't work out? But I'm like, I have to look into that. Do him and Starfire have, I mean, maybe it just depends on the continuity, but does him and Starfire actually have a child together, or any kids at all, like in the comics? Because most iterations of them, like, I mean, because I haven't watched it. I'm trying to remember Starfire even in the Young Justice. I don't think she is she? I know a lot of people are. I know, like, well, Wally was. I know Aqualad is. I know, you know, some of the other people, but I'm like, I don't think Starfire is. I'm trying to remember Cyborg, because in that continuity, I think Cyborg's already, like, part of the Justice League. I don't remember. Because I think that's all taking place in that is the Justice League timeline, I believe. This is just, like, further in the future where the sidekicks or the younglings have kind of grown up. Because I haven't watched it since season 2. I need to, like, change that immediately. I have to rewatch the first 2 seasons and then, like, watch where the show currently is. But it's like, I know, like Dick had already become Nightwing, and I think Tim is the new Robin in that continuity. I think, like I said, it's been a while, but it's just I just don't ever remember, like, because I'm not well versed in the comics, and most stuff I see of them are them as the Teen Titans, not necessarily them being older. The only instance I can think of is, like, in the OG Teen Titans, where because of Dr. Light, Starfire time traveled to 10 years in the future, meets, like, the older versions of the Titans, where, like, at that point, Dick had already become Nightwing, and obviously, like, she was missing for those 10 years, so, like, you know, nothing could happen there. But still, I'm curious as that, like, what that means for Dick now that he's seen that. Does that change things now of, like, right, kind of like, it's, well, another reference that's kind of somewhat slightly under the it's CBS Productions, but I think it still falls under, because it's on the CW, and that kind of falls under like the Warner Brothers banner, I think. But it's like on Nancy Drew, like Nancy kind of had a similar experience kind of with Ace at the end of season 2. So, you know, I'm wondering, you know, it's definitely going to be interesting to see. I don't know, maybe it's not even just a Starfire situation. It could just be like him and Barbara like have a kid, or maybe like adopt or something like that. But I just assumed, I was like, it seems like because like that's why I was always kind of bummed. I'm like, like him and, like, it started there with him and Starfire, but it just never ever like went back there since like early parts of season 1. So them circling back to each other, it's that, you know, it's your Lois and Clark, it's your Barry and Iris type of situation. It's just meant to be type of thing. So we'll see if that's where they everything ends up taking us. The next episode is the season finale, so I'm very excited to see how they ultimately end up wrapping this season, how everything plays out at the end of everything. So we'll see. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.